What do you mean he let raw chicken sit out in the prep sink for over an hour? Silas Booker's voice echoed through the corner office of his downtown headquarters. He leaned back slowly in his chair, his jaw tight. The report from his district manager sat open on his desk, pages scattered, some typed, some handwritten notes scrawled in red. And none of it made sense. This wasn't how his stores were supposed to run. He hadn't built this company from the ground up. He'd bought it 8 years ago from a retiring couple who ran a modest chain of 11 walk-in freezer supply stores across the Midwest. The kind of stores that sold wholesale frozen goods, meat, dairy, bakery stock to restaurants, catering companies, and even the occasional savvy shopper. Business had grown, fast, too fast maybe. Silas had focused on expansion, upgrading equipment, introducing online ordering, and streamlining logistics, but lately complaints were coming in. Orders wrong, packaging damaged. One store in particular, Store 7, in Central Ohio, had more issues than the rest combined. Silas had never met most of the store-level employees. The chain had grown too big for that, and his face wasn't splashed on posters or company emails. So when he walked into Store 7 posing as a new temp delivery stalker named Rick, no one blinked. The beard, glasses, and weathered ball cap helped. The name tag was printed that morning and clipped to a borrowed company hoodie. The store was short-staffed. That was clear right away. The assistant manager said 2 part-timers quit last week. The supervisor, a guy named Trent, hadn't bothered to replace them. Just means less people to screw things up, Trent said with a laugh when Silas asked about it. Silas forced a chuckle. Guess that means more hours for us, huh? Yeah, just don't get soft on me, freezer's behind. Start there. The freezer was a massive walk-in unit that buzzed with cold air and flickering overhead lights. Silas grabbed a pair of gloves and started unloading a pallet of frozen hash browns when he heard a voice behind him. Hey man, careful with that corner stack. Box tore last night and Trent told me not to touch it. Said it's fine, but I don't know. Silas turned. It was a young guy, barely 20, maybe skinny, nervous, and wearing a battered hoodie under his apron. His name tag read, Elijah. What do you mean he said it's fine? Elijah shrugged. It's leaking, might have thawed, but he said slap a sticker on it and move it. Said it's not our job to check temps. Silas's stomach turned. He set the box down and peeled back the plastic. The hash browns were damp, soft at the edges. That wasn't just thought, it was borderline spoiled. You ever report this stuff? To who? Elijah said quietly. District guys barely hear. And Trent, he doesn't listen. Last time I said something, he cut my hours for a week. Silas nodded slowly, eyes narrowing. Thanks for the heads up. He finished unloading that pallet and went to the back cooler. What he found stopped him cold. Raw chicken stacked high in open trays was sitting in the prep sink with no ice, no cover, no timestamp. The cooler's thermometer read 48 degrees. The health code limit was 41. He stood there, frozen himself, when Trent swaggered in. Hey, Rick. You done back here yet? Silas stepped aside. You see this chicken? Trent barely glanced. Yeah, it's fine, been sitting maybe 40 minutes. It'll go out to the caterer at noon. It's 50 degrees in here, that's a health code violation. Trent scoffed. You a health inspector now? No, Silas said. Just don't want to poison anyone. Trent rolled his eyes. Look, if you got a problem with how I run the place, feel free to join the others who quit. I'm not explaining myself to some temp. Silas gritted his teeth and walked away. He needed time. Needed to see more. He spent the rest of the shift stocking damaged boxes, slicing his hand on a busted metal rack, and watching Elijah mop up a spill while Trent barked at a cashier for needing a bathroom break. By the end of the day, Silas sat in the break room, his hands still cold from the freezer. Elijah walked in and sat quietly next to him. You gonna quit too? The kid asked. Silas looked over. No, I don't think I am. He had seen enough. Tomorrow he'd be back, and the day after. But not as Rick, as Silas Booker. And this time, Trent would be the one answering questions. Silas arrived at Store 7 the next morning before the sun was fully up. this time dressed in his usual tailored slacks and slate blue button-down. His beard was trimmed back, glasses replaced by contact lenses, and his name tag reads Silas Booker CEO. He walked in through the side door, same one he'd used the day before as Rick. The store had only just opened. The front lights buzzed faintly and the floor still smelled faintly of bleach. A woman in her 50s wearing a company vest and pushing a hand truck paused when she saw him. "Can I help you?" Silas nodded. "You must be Denise. I'm here to speak with the staff before the morning rush." She hesitated, then gave a slow nod. "Trent's not in yet, I know." "That's fine." Denise set the hand truck aside and led him to the back office. The space was cramped, cluttered with old training manuals, a chipped coffee pot, and a wall calendar still stuck on the previous month. Silas remained standing. "Once everyone's in, I'd like to meet with the full team," he said. "Before we open to customers." Denise blinked. "You want all staff off the floor?" "Yes." She studied him for a moment. "All right. I'll call them back when they start showing." Over the next 20 minutes, employees trickled in, some cautiously, some curious. Elijah walked in last, pausing in the doorway. His eyes flicked to Silas's face, then the name tag. He didn't say anything, but his jaw tightened. Once the group had gathered 6 employees in total, Silas stepped forward. "Good morning. My name is Silas Booker. I'm the owner and CEO of this company. For the past 2 days, I've been working here undercover, using the name Rick." No one spoke. A few exchanged glances, wary. "I did this," Silas continued, "because I've gotten reports I couldn't make sense of from behind a desk. I needed to see it myself, and I did." He let the words settle for a beat. "Elijah," he said, turning slightly, "thank you for being honest with me yesterday." "That wasn't easy, I know that." Elijah stared at the floor. His knuckles were white around the strap of his apron. Silas looked back to the group. "I saw expired goods being stored for delivery. I saw employees working double shifts with no breaks logged. I saw managers ignoring basic safety procedures. That ends now." A voice cut through the silence. "You could have just asked." It was Trent. He had entered from the stockroom door, still wearing his jacket, holding a coffee cup. His tone was casual, but his eyes were sharp. "I don't need theatrics to do my job, Mr. Booker." Silas didn't react. "You're right. You need integrity, you need accountability, and from what I've observed, you've chosen neither." Trent gave a short laugh. "What, because a couple boxes were off temp?" "That's what this is about." "No," Silas said. "It's about how you treat people. It's about your choices to ignore health regulations, to retaliate against employees who speak up, and to cut corners at every opportunity." Trent shook his head, smiling without any warmth. "You think you can just walk in here and understand how this place runs in 2 days? I didn't need 2 days. I needed 2 hours." Silas turned to Denise. "Please contact HR. Trent is being relieved of his position effective immediately. He's not to interact with the staff or re-enter the premises." Trent's mouth opened, but Silas cut him off. "Your decisions put this store, our customers, and this team at risk. You're done here." For a long moment, no one moved, then Denise stepped forward, silent but firm. Trent scoffed and walked out slowly, muttering under his breath. No one stopped him once the door shut. Silas exhaled. "I know this morning was unexpected," he said, "but I'm not leaving this store in chaos. We're going to fix this starting today." He pulled a folded sheet from his pocket and handed it to Denise. "This is an interim staffing plan. Until we assign a new supervisor, you'll oversee operations. You'll report directly to me." Denise looked stunned. "I haven't managed since my last job 10 years ago. You're the most experienced person here, and I trust your judgment. I'll be here the rest of the week to support you." He turned to the others. "I want to speak to each of you privately over the next few hours. I want to hear what's working, what isn't, and what you need to do your job safely and effectively." The employees filtered out quietly. Elijah lingered. "You really own all this?" "I do." "You're not like I pictured." Silas smiled faintly. "Neither are you." Elijah looked down, then back up. "Thanks for listening," Silas nodded. I meant what I said. You were brave yesterday. That matters. By mid-morning, Silas had met with everyone individually. A cashier named Nia described how her register constantly jammed, costing her time and frustrating customers. A driver named Marcus explained how outdated routing software made deliveries late and dangerous, especially in bad weather. Denise brought up mold on the breakroom ceiling and a completely non-functional walkie system that forced employees to shout across the warehouse. Each concern was specific. Tangible? Fixable? Silas took notes on every one of them. By noon, he had replaced the floor manager's desk chair with a folding one. Trent's old leather seat was broken and had been patched with duct tape. He called IT to expedite the replacement of the handheld scanners that froze constantly. And he scheduled an inspection for the freezer equipment. When Marcus returned from a delivery, Silas was waiting by the loading dock. How many stops today? 7. 3 of them are usually late because of the software glitch. Let's ride. Marcus blinked. You want to come with? Yeah. I want to see what you're dealing with. They climbed into the truck. The cab was clean but worn. The first delivery went fine, a small diner on the outskirts of town. The second was a different story. The GPS routed them through a closed overpass, forcing a 15-minute detour. When they arrived at the restaurant, the manager was already outside, annoyed. You guys were supposed to be here an hour ago. Marcus apologized calmly, but Silas stepped forward. I'm with the company, he said. We're aware of the routing issue. It's being fixed. The manager looked surprised. Well, if you're working on it, good, but this keeps happening. We've got prep staff standing around with nothing to work on. Back in the truck, Silas asked, how often does that happen? Twice a week, easy. It won't anymore. They returned to the store around 3. Silas spent the rest of the afternoon side by side with Nia at the front register, watching as she juggled a line of customers, a jammed receipt spool and a price mismatch on a bulk seafood box. You reset this twice already, he said, watching the scanner hiccup again. Yeah. Sometimes it works after the third time. Sometimes I just have to key it in manual. He watched her fingers fly across the keypad. Her pace was fast, precise. She didn't complain once. Silas stepped away, called corporate, and greenlit immediate replacement of all front-end hardware. The budget had been flagged for months, but now it was a priority. Before closing, Silas gathered the team once more. I'm not here to make speeches, he said. I'm here to rebuild trust. That starts with listening and acting. You've all done your jobs under pressure with little support. That changes now. He handed Elijah a card. That's my direct line. If anything goes wrong here, you call me. Elijah nodded, still processing. As the sun dipped low, Silas stood at the back door, coat slung over his shoulder. Denise walked past, pausing briefly. You know, she said, we've had district managers walk in and pretend they care. You're the first one who stayed past lunch. I'm not a district manager. No, she said. You're not. She glanced once toward the office, then left without another word. Silas stepped outside, the cold air biting at his collar. He had come here expecting broken systems. What he found was something harder to fix but more important, broken trust, and that, he thought, was his responsibility to repair. One day at a time. The next morning, Silas didn't walk in with a clipboard or a speech. He arrived early, same as the day before, but this time he came carrying a box of fresh thermal gloves, a new mop head still in its packaging, and an old-fashioned spiral notebook. He dropped the gloves in the break room with a note, for everyone, no more frostbite. Then he walked the floor. Denise was reviewing a delivery manifest by the front window. She looked up, lips pressed into a line. That vendor from Akron shorted us again. This time on frozen berries. Silas took the manifest and scanned it. Same vendor that missed last week's dairy order, she nodded. Cut them, Silas said. We'll reroute through the Dayton supplier, fewer delays, and they keep tighter logs. They're pricier. I'll take the margin hit. Not worth risking another customer complaint. Denise nodded once, then returned to her clipboard. She didn't say thank you, but she didn't need to. The shift in her posture said enough. Silas moved to the back, where Elijah was breaking down cardboard near the loading bay. The kid looked up and gave a small wave, then continued folding boxes into a flat stack. "You always close out the waste yourself?" Silas asked. "Usually. Trent didn't like us leaving it overnight even if it wasn't full." "Did he ever log your extra hours?" Elijah hesitated, then shook his head. "Said I was on flex time, told me not to clock out late or it'd mess with payroll." Silas wrote something in his notebook, then tucked it away. "We'll fix that. Retroactive." Elijah gave a quick nod and grabbed another box. By mid-morning, the store had picked up. A line of restaurant buyers waited at the front register, pushing carts stacked with 30-pound meat boxes and bulk frozen peas. Nia, the cashier, was moving quickly, scanning with her left hand while sorting invoices with her right. Silas stepped in behind her, watching. "That's a lot of manual entry," he said after the third customer. "Scanner's better than before, but some SKUs still aren't in the system. I've been keeping a cheat sheet under the drawer. Let me see it." She slid out a folded piece of paper, edges soft from use. Dozens of handwritten codes were scrawled next to product names. Silas scanned it, eyebrows lifting. "You made this yourself." No one else had one, and they kept yelling about slow checkouts. Silas folded the paper and slipped it into his pocket. "We'll digitize this." "You just saved us weeks of IT troubleshooting." Nia blinked, then nodded slowly. "Thanks." He didn't say anything more, just moved to the next station. Behind the walk-in, Marcus was reloading hand carts for the afternoon run. The truck had just come back, and he was already stacking the next round of pallets. "You always break down the route solo?" Silas asked. "Usually." "Was supposed to have a helper, but we haven't had one since early fall." "No temp coverage?" Trent said it was a budget freeze. Silas let out a low breath. "We'll lift it. Starting today, you're getting a second route hand." Marcus didn't respond right away. He just nodded, then returned to strapping a pallet with plastic wrap. "Had a near miss last Thursday," he said without looking up. "Black ice. Could have used a second set of eyes." Silas didn't reply, he just made a note and walked off. Around 1, a corporate field rep showed up. Dana, sharp suit, stiff posture. She'd been sent from HR at Silas's request, but she hadn't expected to find him working shoulder to shoulder with the floor staff. She caught up to him near the dry goods aisle. "You're not usually this." "Hands on," she said. "I wasn't. That changed." Dana glanced around. "You want me to start interviews for the new supervisor now?" Silas shook his head. "Not yet. I haven't decided if we're promoting in-house." She hesitated. "You're considering Denise." She hasn't said yes. "I'm not forcing it." Dana followed his gaze. Denise was at the front helping a customer load cases of frozen bread into a cart. "She's direct," Dana said, "but she's respected." "That's exactly what we need right now." Dana nodded once, then pulled out her tablet. "A few employees mentioned missed breaks and unpaid overtime. I'm starting the audit today." "Good, don't flag it, just do it." She gave him a sidelong glance. "You're not giving them a heads up." "No. They've been carrying this store without backup." "They don't owe me anything." Dana nodded again, more slowly this time. A few hours later, Silas stepped into the break room. The air was thick with the smell of microwaved noodles and reheated chili. Elijah was huddled in the corner, eating quietly. Across from him, Nia had her shoes off and was rubbing her ankle. "Long shift?" Silas asked. She looked up. "Double. I swapped with someone who had a sick kid." "You need to sit out the last stretch." "Can't. Denise already offered, but we're short." Silas turned to Elijah. "You comfortable covering front register for 30 minutes? Elijah's eyes widened slightly. "I've never done it." "You're about to." Nia handed him her name tag. "Just don't hit the void button, it freezes everything." Elijah stood slowly, wiped his hands on his apron and followed Silas out. At the register, Silas walked him through the basic scan, enter weight, double-check the invoice. "You'll learn fast. Just take your time." Elijah nodded, focused. Silas stepped back and let him work. Nia sat in the break room with her feet up, finally off them for the first time all day. When the shift ended and the last customer left, Silas called the team together near the back dock. Sunset had already darkened the windows, and the hum of the walk-in cooler filled the silence. "I'm not giving a speech," he said. "But I am making a few commitments." He pulled out the spiral notebook and flipped it open. "First, the missing overtime is being corrected. Dana from HR is staying all week to process it." No one spoke, but Elijah shifted slightly, eyes down. "Second, we're filling 2 open roles immediately. One for loading, one for front-end support. You'll be involved in the hiring." He looked at Marcus. "You'll interview your route partner. You know what the job takes better than I do." Marcus nodded once. "Third, brake compliance is non-negotiable. You're not machines. If someone pressures you to skip it, you come to me." Silas scanned their faces. No one looked away. "Fourth, I'm replacing the entire handheld system. You'll get new scanners, updated software, and fewer workarounds." Nia exhaled just once and last Denise. She looked up. "I'd like you to step in formally as interim supervisor. You'll have autonomy but also support." Denise didn't answer right away. Her hands were still at her sides. "I'll do it," she said finally. "But if I see the same shortcuts creeping back in, I'm not staying quiet. I'm counting on that." The gathering broke apart slowly. Nia collected her things, limping slightly. Marcus grabbed his keys and headed for the truck lot. Elijah hovered near the mop station, folding towels into a neat pile. Silas walked over. "You did good at the register." Elijah gave a hesitant smile. "Wasn't as bad as I thought. You want to train up in front end," he paused. "Yeah, I think I do. Talk to Denise tomorrow." "We'll schedule a training block." Elijah nodded, then grabbed his backpack. As the building emptied out, Silas stood alone near the loading dock, watching the lights flicker off one by one. He wasn't done. Not even close. But the store no longer felt like a place cracking under its own weight. It felt like something being rebuilt. From the inside. By the people who worked it. Thursday began under gray skies. Rain snaked down the warehouse windows in steady lines as Silas stepped out of his rental car and pulled the hood of his jacket tight. The lot was half full. Marcus's truck was already gone, out on the early route. Inside, the hum of compressors and the drone of forklifts gave the place an oddly calm rhythm. The chaos of the early week had settled, not because the problems were gone, but because they were being faced out loud. Silas walked through the back hall and into the updated operations office. The busted chair, the loose wall calendar, the half-working coffee pot gone. In their place, a standing desk, real-time order tracking on a mounted monitor, and a digital staff logbook Denise had started building from scratch. She sat at the desk, glasses low on her nose, typing with quiet focus. "You're early," she said without looking up. "Habit," he said. "How'd the vendor transition go?" "They shorted us again. But this time it came with an apology and a credit invoice. That's new." Silas leaned against the doorframe. "Keep them on probation. One more slip, we pull the contract." Denise nodded and clicked through a few more screens. Also, payroll sent over corrected stubs. Elijah got an extra 62 hours of retro pay. I told him he should frame it. How'd he react? Tried not to smile. Failed. Silas left her to it and walked the perimeter of the store. The air still carried the familiar chill of cold storage and the clang of metal carts, but the atmosphere felt different, quieter, more intentional. People didn't rush blindly anymore. They moved like they had room to think. At the dry storage aisle, Nia was unpacking a shipment of bulk spices. She was balancing a clipboard on her hip, scanning barcode labels before shelving. "That's the new handheld?" Silas asked. She looked up, nodded once. "Finally connects without dropping signal. I'm not stuck writing down SKUs anymore." "Does it still misread the weight-based items?" "Not since they patched it. I already logged a few minor bugs. IT called me back the same day." He raised an eyebrow. "Same day, shocked me too." He let her get back to it and headed toward the break room. Through the small window in the door, he saw Elijah sitting with a small open binder on the table and a set of laminated cards spread in front of him. Denise's voice came through from the other side. "And if a customer disputes a price, don't override it unless they have the printed invoice." Otherwise, offer to review it with the shift lead. Elijah nodded. What if the invoice doesn't match the scan price? Flag it. That's not your problem to solve on the floor. When Silas stepped in, both looked over. Training block going well? He asked. Elijah tapped his pen against the binder. Not bad. There's a lot more to it than just scanning things. You're picking it up fast, Denise said. You'll be shadowing Nia tomorrow during the lunch wave. Elijah nodded, then hesitated. Can I ask something? Of course, Silas said. Is this permanent? I mean the changes. Or is it going to go back once you leave? Silas sat down across from him. It only goes back if people let it. I'm not running this store, you are all of you, but I'll stay involved. You'll have a direct line to me any time. Denise leaned back. And if someone higher up tries to reverse that, they'll answer to me. She gave a short nod, then turned back to Elijah. Page 9. Let's talk about customer pickup protocol. Silas left them to it and headed to the receiving bay, where a vendor rep in a damp windbreaker was waiting with a clipboard. His name tag read Terry. His body language buzzed with tension, leaning forward, tapping the edge of a box, eyes twitching toward the clock. You're here early, Silas said. Yeah, I wanted to go over the invoice in person. I heard some of our product didn't meet standards. Silas glanced at the pallet behind him, stacks of frozen broccoli and diced peppers, all shrink-wrapped and stamped with a packing date from 4 days ago. When was this pulled? Silas asked. Tuesday. It was supposed to go out same day, but our truck broke down outside Findlay. That delay got logged, honestly. No, driver didn't flag it. Silas stepped closer to the pallet, peeled back the wrap, and checked the top layer seal. No frostbite, still holding temp. He moved to the second layer. One corner of a box was soft. The glue seemed slightly split. You're replacing this stack, he said, pointing. Terry hesitated. It's still within safety parameters. And it looks like it spent 2 hours in a humid truck. I'm not risking a customer complaint because your driver didn't hit a button. Terry nodded once and pulled out his phone. I'll log it. New shipment tomorrow. Silas didn't thank him. He didn't need to. Doing it right was the minimum now. Later that afternoon, Dana arrived in a clean black raincoat, holding a folder of printed audit results. She found Silas by the old walk-in, where a tech was installing a new digital thermometer panel. Final payroll audits done, she said, handing over the folder. 4 employees underpaid. All corrected. 2 former workers declined the back pay, moved out of state. That's their choice, Silas said, but we'll still send it. Dana nodded. One more thing, I reviewed the complaint logs from the last year. There were several flagged entries from Store 7 that never escalated to corporate. He looked up. Trent, most likely. They were marked as resolved at store level without follow-up. I'm reopening the files. Good. Anything that smells like retaliation, document it. Fully. She tucked the folder under her arm. You're not going to like the next bit. Try me. Regional wants to know why you're spending this much time on a single location. They're asking for a report. Silas folded his arms. Give them one, but tell them the focus is shifting. From expansion to stabilization. Dana smiled faintly. They'll push back. They can. My office isn't in a tower. It's wherever this company needs a reset. She gave a small nod, then turned and walked out into the drizzle. By closing, the aisles were restocked. The employee log had 3 new entries, notes on a freezer door that needed re-greasing, and a pricing discrepancy on imported cheese, and Denise had finalized next week's schedule, with 3 new shifts slotted in for a second route hand. Marcus had given her the name of a former co-worker looking for part-time hours, and interviews were set for Monday. Before locking up, Silas gathered the remaining staff on the main floor. The rain had stopped, light catching on the wet pavement just outside the glass doors. I came here because something didn't add up, and I found out why, he said. But what I didn't expect to find was a team still standing after being ignored for too long. He looked at each of them. Elijah, hands deep in his hoodie pocket. Nia, leaning on one leg but alert. Marcus, arms crossed, unreadable. Denise, steady as ever. You didn't just keep this place running. You kept its reputation from collapsing. That's not luck, that's work. No one said anything, but the silence felt earned. I won't be here every day going forward, I shouldn't be, but this store is no longer invisible. If something breaks, it gets fixed. If someone steps out of line, they're gone. If you speak up, you'll be heard, and if you put in the work, you'll move up. He let the pause stretch. That's the standard now, not just here, everywhere. As they dispersed, Denise stayed back. You'll be missed, she said. I'll be around. You always say that. I mean it this time. She didn't smile, just nodded and turned away. Silas walked out the front door into the cooling evening air, the glass reflecting the soft glow of the loading bay lights behind him. The store was still what it had always been, rows of bulk goods, metal shelves, and concrete floors. But now it had something else. A future shaped by the people who had already earned it.